things. I found a biblical example really helpful when your situation, if you've been feeling like your situation is hopeless, and it's about removing the false idols. In chapter 6 of Judges, we find Israel in a hopeless situation. Right, they're in terrible circumstances. A group of people called the Midianites kept swarming in, and the Bible says they were like locusts. They would come in and take everything. They would take all that they had harvested from their crops. They would just take everything away from them. The Midianites overwhelmed them because of their great number. Again, the situation just looked hopeless. And finally, and this maybe has been where you have been, I think people a lot of times, unfortunately, have to get to the broken place. Probably do another video about that. But we have to get to a broken enough place where we cry out to the Lord. And that's what Israel did. They cried out. And he answered. Because when you cry out to God, he answers you. Amen. Judges 6, verse 12 says, "And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites." Wow. Here's a man who's just not trusting God. He's like, I've heard all these stories. You know, my grandpa told me all these things, these great things you did for them, but I don't see you doing them for me. Is that where you are today? It's okay. I think a lot of us have been there. There are times where you look around and you're like, hey, I've been fighting this battle and I keep losing. Everything, the enemy comes in and just takes everything from me. I think I'm ready to fight, but I'm not. Previously did a video about learned helplessness. Gideon had a severe case of learned helplessness. He had it so bad that even though God was telling him that deliverance was on its way, he doubted. I'm here to tell you, deliverance is on its way. Don't doubt. But his people had been in their situation for a long time. And on top of that, everybody around them kept saying, you're worthless, right? They told Gideon, you're worthless. So long that he believed it, right? He said, Gideon said, I'm from a family of nobodies, and I'm the biggest nobody of my family. How can you use me, God? How can you call me a mighty man of valor? I haven't won anything ever in my whole life. Well, it took some convincing. You know the story of the fleece, the wet fleece and the dry ground, the dry fleece and the wet ground, all that stuff. Gideon finally believed that God was truly going to use him to deliver Israel out of the hand of Midianites. But I think what I want to point out, I think an often overlooked part of the story we read of Gideon, is the first thing that he did. Once he became convinced that God was going to help him, he did something very important. He went out and he destroyed the idols, the worship, the Ashtaroth poles of his father's idols, right? They were worshiping these false gods. They had set up items of worship, and he went out and cut down these poles. If you're finding yourself facing the same problems over and over, maybe you need to tear down some idols in your life, things you've been giving your attention and your time to. The people were angry. His family was angry, but Gideon had cut down something that was distracting them. What's the idol in your life? Is it your phone, your device? What are you unwilling to cut down? I know men who have said, I can't have a smartphone. It's too easy. I knew a man once who said, I went and got a flip phone because I don't need to be on the internet. It was too easy while he was at work to start talking to women who he was not married to, or looking at pornography. And he had been battling, and he said, I'm going to cut this down. This is not going to be in my life. Whatever it takes. And men, ladies, whatever, you need this, so do whatever it takes to get this victory. What God has promised for you is much greater than what the world is giving you. It's much greater than what you're settling for. I just want to give you some encouragement. When you find that you just keep losing the same battles over and over, the enemy keeps sweeping in, and please know God is calling you. You know what he calls you? You know, I always marvel at Israel when they spied out the land and they said, I know I've used this example a bunch of times, but they said, we're grasshoppers. We just look like grasshoppers to them. They looked like grasshoppers to themselves. That was their real problem. It wasn't what their enemy thought of them. It didn't matter what the enemy thought of them. It mattered what God thought of them. And God tells us we are more than conquerors through Jesus Christ. We're more than conquerors. We're not just going to barely make it. We're going to have great victory. You've got to believe that. And you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. And maybe that means you destroy some things in your life that keep leading to your destruction, keep leading to your stumbling and your falls. Maybe it means you don't have a computer set up in a private place. Maybe it means you don't have separate social media accounts from your spouse. Maybe you don't have passwords. I, for the life of me, cannot understand if you're in a marital relationship why you have a password your spouse does not have access to. That's just insane. That is not God's way. You're one flesh, two becoming one flesh. So I encourage you today to take a long, hard look. Look what's in your life. Obviously, you know, we can't build a fence you can't climb over. But you can put that doesn't negate the need to do it. Tear down some things. Get rid of things. Whatever it takes for you to be free. Do that. God bless you. We'll see you in the next video.